Hello everyone, this is Muhammad Tuhami from Midway Simplicity and welcome to a new episode of the Midway Simplicity Show where I invite simple living advocates to share with you a few tips that are not too harsh for your lifestyle and that can help you simplify the 5 most important areas of your life, which are time, health, things, finances and relationships. And today I have a very interesting guest. She is Brooke McAlary from slowyourhome.com, one of the most amazing, wonderful blogs out there in the simple living blog sphere. And her writing is engaging, is interesting. And welcome, Brooke. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you very much. That was quite the introduction.
Well, tell us a little bit about the story of Slow Your Home and how did it all start?
About 3 years ago, I came across the idea of the slow home movement, which sort of I found really interesting. That you could create your home environment to work for you, but not own you. And that was sort of where my interest started and where the name of the blog came from. But as I worked a little bit further through that and I was going through some pretty dark personal stuff, I came across the more specific idea of simple living and how that can impact so much more positively than just dealing with your house and your belongings. So it's sort of become a combination of slow home movement and simple living, minimalism, whatever we want to call it. Yeah,
and for those who don't know, what is a slow home movement?
It originated with 12 key tenets of creating a slow home, and they were based around sustainability, organisation, decluttering, and also being part of a community, which I thought was really interesting that came as part of it. How you interact with that community, how close you are to public transport, things like that. So it's a really overall view of how you live and where you live and how that impacts your well-being. Yeah.
Interesting. So, and it seems that your home is peaceful and neat and decluttered. The background, your background is very simple and inviting,
Yeah.
So
my kids are in bed, so
that's why
it's quiet.
So let's start by a tip to help people simplify their time.
Yeah. Okay. The main thing that I've learnt is to manage my expectations. So often I would have a list of 20 things I wanted to get done in a day, and I'd get 10 done and still have 10 on my list, and the day would be a failure, So I was writing my own frustrations into my day. I was really sabotaging myself. So now I like to have 3 things that I want to get done in a day, and that's it. Anything beyond that, great. But generally, if I get 3 done, and most days you can get 3 things done, then, I feel like I've done something positive in my day and achieve something, whereas before I was moving the goalposts constantly and I was constantly disappointed in myself. So that's been a big part of managing my time.
That's an interesting tip, yeah. And what about health?
Again, from completely personal experience, I've found it's really important to focus on mental health. Physical health obviously is incredibly important, but I've found that by focusing on my mental health, I'm becoming more aware of the way I feel physically, the way my body's working, the way that's impacting on my moods and, my ability to be clear-headed and happy. So if I can work on, the internal part, if anyone can work on the internal part, then I feel like good health flows from inside out, generally speaking.
Yeah, and what do you do specifically to improve your mental health or simplify your mental health?
I wouldn't say meditate, but I practice mindfulness most days, even if it's just 5 minutes of deep breathing. I might just sit still I get up really early. I get up at 4 a.m. every day. So I get a little bit of quiet of a morning, and I generally do 5 minutes of that deep breathing and just concentrating on my breath and nothing else. And I try and get decent sleep. I feel like that's a really big part of it. If I get 6 or 7 hours of really good sleep, then I'm a much nicer person to be around.
Yeah, that's interesting. So now let's move to things, positions.
The thing, I think everyone starts the simple living process with decluttering. It sort of seems to be a very popular buzzword, and it's really important. But people often, I get emails every week, people are falling down at sentimental items. You know, they don't know how to declutter their kids' artworks from 10 years ago, or the china that their grandmother gave them, even though they don't want them anymore. So it's been a really good lesson for me to separate the memory from the physical possession. So that is one thing to keep in mind. I think when you're trying to cull your belongings, just to remove the physical from the emotional. But also, people have this idea that there's some, ideal number of belongings that you need to have to be a minimalist. And I think everyone's ideal simplicity is different. Some people might be able to live out of a backpack forever, and that's awesome. But some people will have, obviously a lot more than that. So I think it's finding your number and your balance.
Great. And what about the interesting area, which is finances? What do you do to control and simplify your finances, having 2 kids and all this stuff?
Yeah. It's a challenge. But the main thing is to have a conversation. I think if you're married or have a partner, or even if you're, a single person, you have the conversation with yourself about what you're earning and what you want to do with your money. If you have a goal of buying a home or being debt-free, then if you know what you have and you know what you're working towards, it's much easier to plot out the steps in between, I find. Otherwise you get lost, and a year's gone and you've made no headway towards your goal. And it's easy that way to get really overwhelmed. But also, stop buying so much stuff helps.
Definitely. And finally, relationships. How do you simplify your relationships? Being a mother of 2 again, how do you manage to simplify your relationships at home or with your friends and so
on? 2 things. I firstly try and be present when I'm with people, because, the mind wanders to what you need to be doing, but you can't actually be doing that thing while you're spending time with somebody, so you may as well be present completely and wholly and enjoy their company. And that's difficult when you've got little kids. I find it is difficult because they want you all the time, and you need to get things done. So to balance that is a constant struggle, a good struggle, but still a struggle. And the second thing is to understand your priorities with relationships. Be it your husband or wife or your kids or your best friend. And when you know what's first and second and where things come, it's easier to say no to things when you become overcommitted, I think, and that just keeps the people who deserve to be up there, in their place. Yeah.
Great. And at your blog, slowyourhome.com, you are running a very interesting challenge, which is called 2012 in 2012. Can you give our viewers an overview of what this challenge is all about and how they can join you in this challenge, if they can?
Yeah, sure. So at the beginning of the year, I wanted to declutter, having probably decluttered about 10,000 items in 2011. I wanted to challenge myself for 2012. I actually didn't think that I would have that much stuff left to clear, but So I challenged myself to declutter 2012 items by the end of the year, which works out at about 5.8 items a day. And that, that was a challenge enough, I felt. But I recently surpassed that. I think I'm up to 2,500 items now.
And how do you count the item? Because I cannot imagine someone owning, 2,000 or 3,000 items. This is so.
I know, it's crazy.
You must be rich or wealthy to own all these number. So how do you count what you own?
So a lot of what it has been is clothes and like with 2 kids. I come from a big family. So they've gotten tons of hand-me-down clothes.
So it's not about you; it's about everyone in the home. So.
Oh yeah. So
okay.
It's not. Sorry, I should have made that clear. It's not just me.
Yeah.
But a lot of it. So the kids' clothes was probably about a quarter of it.
Yeah.
The rest of it was mostly my own crap. I used to run my own jewelry business, and that folded when. I went through some personal depression and things, and I couldn't look at it. I hated it because it reminded me of a time that I burnt myself out completely. But to just throw it away seemed like such a waste, so I held on to it for years, and it was just this weight around my neck. So a lot of it was that, and that was huge to clear that out. But then things like CDs and books and clothes, I was shocked by how quickly it added up. Really shocked.
And do you find it easy to to convince your kids to get rid of their toys and their stuff and all these things?
No.
What's your secret then?
I tend to rotate things out a lot with kids, with their toys. So I try and keep maybe half in play and half go into storage, and when they're in storage and I know that they've outgrown them or they've got something similar, it just finds its way to charity and the kids aren't aware of it. I wouldn't throw out anything that was really important to them, but yeah, that's probably the main.
So the secret is doing the decluttering behind their back. They don't. You have to make sure that they don't watch this episode then on the vlog.
I think so.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brooke. It has been a pleasure having you on the call today, and I enjoyed it very, very much, and I hope you did as well.
I did. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Well, tell us a little bit about the story of Slow Your Home and how did it all start?
About 3 years ago, I came across the idea of the slow home movement, which sort of I found really interesting. That you could create your home environment to work for you, but not own you, and that was sort of where my interest started, whatever we want to call it. Yeah,
and for those who don't know, what is a slow home movement?
It originated with 12 key tenets of creating a slow home, and they were based around sustainability, organisation, decluttering, and also being part of a community, which I thought was really good, and where the name of the blog came from. But as I worked a little bit further through that, and I was going through some pretty dark personal stuff, I came across the more specific idea of simple living and how that can impact so much more positively than just dealing with your house and your belongings. So it's sort of become a combination of slow home movement and simple living, minimalism, whatever. No worries.
Hello everyone, this is Muhammad Tuhami from Midway Simplicity and welcome to a new episode of the Midway Simplicity Show where I invite simple living advocates to share with you a few tips that are not too harsh for your lifestyle and that can help you simplify the 5 most important areas of your life, which are time, health, things, finances and relationships. And today I have a very interesting guest. She is Brooke McAlary from slowyourhome.com, one of the most amazing and wonderful blogs out there in the simple living blog sphere, and her writing is engaging, is interesting, and welcome Brooke. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you very much. That was quite the introduction.